This past weekend, one of the most dramatic space missions ever gave us the first peek at the most mysterious world in our solar system. It's a body with an atmosphere, weather, and much the same chemistry that gave rise to life here on Earth. Scientists believe it may be the Earth's closest relative in the known universe. The new world is Titan, the largest moon in orbit around Saturn. This weekend, a flying saucer, no kidding, pierced the clouds and sent back images of what appear to be hills, rivers, ice, and a sea on a world that is fearsomely dark and cold. Titan's surface was essentially unknown until these pictures came back to the Earth. This is the landscape of Titan, nearly 1 billion miles from Earth. It's a historic, if fuzzy, snapshot of a new world that scientists believe may resemble in deep freeze what the Earth was like before life took hold.
This is really one of the greatest achievements in the history of space exploration.
Claudio Salazzo is the manager of the Huygens space probe that landed on Titan over the weekend. He was among the first to be shocked by this 360-degree panoramic view of Titan's real estate because there seemed to be some prime shoreline running from the upper left all the way down to the bottom.
Oh my God, this is incredible. This is like, it looks like my hometown. There is a huge beach, there is this dark sea, and there are things that look like hills on the back.
Well, not exactly his native Naples. The sea isn't water. It may be liquid natural gas, ethane or methane. Same idea as the fuel in a gas grill. It's liquid at Titan's temperature of 290 degrees below zero. Some of these images from Titan might look like ink blots until you see what the scientists can see. For example, this area here is the beach that Claudio Salazzo was talking about. Above it, there appear to be hills, and below it, this whole dark area is the sea. The white, wispy material on the right-hand side of the picture may be fog hugging the ground. We're told that the ground of Titan appears to be spongy, somewhat like wet clay. This picture is a high-altitude image that was taken looking straight down, and the scientists believe that they can see channels of flowing liquid running perhaps downhill to this area, which appears to be a beach, and then the dark sea beyond. These are among the first early theories. This is Titan in color. It's overcast by an orange smog sky with what appears to be ice balls on the surface. They're only a few inches across. Man has never landed a spacecraft on a world so far away, and these images are just one of the discoveries in a $3 billion mission to explore the Saturn system.
And liftoff of the Cassini spacecraft on a billion-mile trek to Saturn.
The mission left this world back in 1997. It's a project of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory and the European Space Agency. Seen here in animation, the nuclear-powered robot called Cassini is as big as a bus. It's in orbit around Saturn, studying how planets and possibly life developed in the early solar system. Cassini is named after the 17th century astronomer who discovered a gap in Saturn's rings. That's fitting, because to reach its orbit, Cassini had to cannonball right through the rings. You flew Cassini, the size of a school bus, through the rings of Saturn.
Yes, sir.
Jerry Jones is the chief navigator of the mission.
If you hit something the size of a rock, mission over.
Mission over. That's correct. We just cannot take, we're going so fast relative to the rings, it would just, go right through the spacecraft, break it up. We'd never hear from it again.
But they did hear from Cassini. What you see is animation, but what you're hearing is the actual sound of space dust hitting the antenna as the ship passed through the rings.
When you got the first signal back from Cassini after it had gone through the rings?
Deep breath time. Oh, yeah.
How do you explain that job to someone?
That I'm really a bus driver. In fact, when you think of Cassini, it really is the size of a bus. And so we somehow think of our scientists with all our instruments as the kids in the back of the bus.
And you can think of Carolyn Porco as the kid with the camera. She's the imaging team chief, and these are her pictures. As a kid, she used to haul a telescope to a roof in the Bronx to look at a tiny ball with rings. Now she's shooting the best close-ups ever.
What motivates me are, the just wonderful feelings of excitement we get at looking at something that's alien. It just has to be part of our nature that we always want to know what's around the next corner. And then when you finally see something that had never been seen before, and you know this is the first time in human history that this has ever been done, it is a rush.
Best you can tell, what's the history of the rings of Saturn?
The rings are no older than about a few 100 million years. They're young. They're basically geologically young. It means that Saturn's rings were not there in the early days when dinosaurs roamed the Earth.
What are they made of?
Billions and billions of particles, countless numbers of particles, varying ice particles, varying in size from the sizes of houses, large houses or small apartment buildings, down to the sizes of stones and pebbles. And although they're screaming around Saturn at speeds of 40,000 miles per hour, they are very gently jostling each other.
They are the delicate wreckage of a moon or maybe a comet that was ripped apart and captured by Saturn's gravity. Being in charge gives Porco the privilege of naming the pictures, names like Ring World Waiting, taken more than 17 million miles away, Sideswiping Saturn, a view to the seemingly paper-thin ring level, and Nature's Canvas, capturing Saturn's tiny moon Mimas there at the upper right. Here's the same moon from its less flattering side, looking for all the world like Darth Vader's Death Star. Cassini has discovered 3 new moons. Now Saturn has 34. But Titan, with its active weather, stands apart from just about everything else in the solar system.
There aren't too many people who can say they've been to Saturn twice.
And it's been a lot of fun, too.
Torrance Johnson is part of the team that shot the Voyager spacecraft past Saturn 2 decades ago. It was a brief encounter, so now he's back to study what Titan has in common with the Earth.
Titan is the only moon in the solar system with an atmosphere?
Well, Titan's the only moon in the solar system with what you call a major atmosphere. It's got an atmosphere made out of mostly nitrogen with several percent methane added to it.
And being mostly nitrogen, it's very much like the Earth's
It's very much like
atmosphere.
the Earth's atmosphere. We think that a lot of the things that are going on Titan now are very similar to what happened 4.5 billion years ago in the Earth's atmosphere before life arose. And that's one of the allures of this place. It was kind of like a cosmic time machine.
So what do you learn from that?
Well, what we may learn is something about our own origins, basically.
The trouble is, Titan's atmosphere is so thick, no one had ever seen the surface clearly, making it the solar system's largest unexplored world. In October, Cassini flew past Titan, trying to peer at the ground.
I just wish I knew what we were looking at. Oh my goodness, what is that? No bands of roving dinosaurs yet.
In the radar room, world-renowned experts in geology, radar, and Saturn itself were stumped. Ever wonder what all those genius kids in your science classes were doing with their lives?
200 meters wide. Like a wrinkle ridge or a thrust fault.
Until you have a grayscale that tells you what level of gray is 0, you don't know where 0 is.
Are you surprised? Did you know enough before to be surprised now?
We knew we'd be surprised. So we were right.
The flyby pictures were tantalizing and tormenting. They wouldn't make their breakthrough discovery until just a few days ago. On Christmas Eve, Cassini launched the Huygens probe, looking a lot like a 1950s Hollywood flying saucer. It's named for the astronomer who discovered Titan. Huygens hit Titan's atmosphere like a bullet. Again, what you're seeing is animation, but what you hear is the microphone on board as it plunged through the winds of an alien world. Huygens parachuted to a soft 12-mile-an-hour landing on a solid surface. It transmitted about 350 pictures over several hours before it signed off forever when its batteries went dead, to the everlasting sadness of Claudio Salazzo.
She was left in a savage, cold, harsh environment, but she was strong enough to arrive there, to land, and survive for so long. I think she'll be happy there.
Jonathan Lunine has been looking at Titan since he was a graduate student 24 years ago. He says studying this alien world may help provide an answer to the biggest question in the cosmos.
You know, I'm sure your neighbors and people at parties have got to ask you, all the time, is there life out there? Does this deepen our understanding of that question?
Titan is a place where the raw materials for life are present, and chemistry is still acting on these materials. And if we find that these raw materials have made it at the surface a certain distance toward the origin of life itself, the building blocks of life have been created from these raw materials, then it tells us that doing those first steps is relatively easy.
Not a one-time accident, but maybe common.
And not a one-time accident that requires such a special set of conditions that we can't expect it somewhere else.
Cassini has become the farthest outpost man has ever established, and for the next 4 years, it will continue to explore Saturn and its constellation of moons.
I think the exploration of our solar system is the greatest of human endeavors. It's the signature enterprise of our time. It's what our culture in the late 20th century, early 21st century will be remembered for.